Welcome to the Rich Flow of Life podcast. Join Valerie Kanay, the award-winning authority author, as she takes you on a journey for your personal evolution. Valerie Kanay talks to enlightened featured guests who hold the keys to unlock your unique life situation. They each bring to the table their very powerful personal spin to inspire and empower you to learn to step up your game into the rich flow of life.
Well, hello, everybody. This is your host, Valerie Kanay, with another round on how to live and thrive in the rich flow of life. Today, our featured guest is Kanay. Kanay is the award-winning author of the nonfiction book called Empowered Chinese. It's all about how to unlock your potential and excel in academia and poetry. Oh, my goodness. Let me tell you a bit about Kanay. She was born on the Silk Road in China, and she has a bachelor and 2 masters of art in English. So you can clearly see that her passion is definitely in the love of literature. But these are not the first writings that Kanay has done. She is a professional published author. In 2009, she published a book on English vocabulary. And she did that one in China. And then later on, following that, subsequently, she did a book called a book of poetry called Out of the Cocoon, Are You the Butterfly? That was done here in the U.S. in 2013. But on today's call, Kanay is going to address the newly released launch book, The Empowered Chinese. So welcome, Kanay. Welcome to the call. And let's talk about the Empowered Chinese.
Wow. Thank you, Val. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the welcoming introduction. This is so touching.
You're welcome.
I'm so honored to be here.
I am so privileged to have you and honored to have you with me also. So you are a professional writer and also a personal and development coach for the youth. But pretty much anybody who needs coaching in literary, as you're so distinguished in that area. But let's start out with the first portion of that, like people that have struggles with logic and learning difficulties. Tell us all about that, please.
Oh, I came from a place that is really like a struggle because my dad, he is right now a psychologist, but he didn't speak until he was 9. And I had the similar learning difficulties and the speech problems as well. Like when I was in grade 2, my math teacher told me that this student has really serious logic problem because she cannot understand things in a very reasonable way. So my logic is really sort of like slow. When I was little, I was literally mute. You know, it's not like a silent kid. It's like literally mute. When people ask me questions, I was like hiding behind. I never raise my hand in classrooms. I never speak up. And when teachers ask me questions, I had no words in my mind. So that was a big struggle for me. So learning difficulties, I've been dealing with that ever since maybe age 7, from age 7 to age 25, I guess. So my journey is that because I was a native Chinese, I was born into a culture that is very ancient, and I was born into a teacher's family that has been around for over 100 years. But the speech problem, I think, for me, is a huge treasure. Now I understand it as a huge treasure because nobody experienced that. The strange thing is, since age 13, because our country started to require the middle school students to study English, so I studied English ever since age 13 from ABC. So actually learning another language helped me develop my logic because English is a very logical language. Like it's like
very
in
logical.
Chinese. It's like in native Chinese language, we do not have tense. The Chinese language is definitely tenseless, which means whatever we speak, every sentence is in present tense. We don't, when I started to learn English, my mind has to constantly distinguish, it's subject, verb, and the tense has to be this action happened whether in the past or present or future. My mind has to distinguish that. So I've been an English major for 9 years, and this journey helped my logic to develop gradually. That's why after graduation, when I started teaching in private schools, I met lots of Chinese Canadian students who have similar difficulties, not as severe as my problems, but they have problems with academic writing, like logic, public speaking problems. I can easily help them to develop that kind of ability because I know that in Chinese the logic is different. It's not linear logic, but we think in images, not in words. That's why
the Chinese, you mean? You think in images.
The Chinese Canadian
Very interesting.
Students. Yeah, because they came from a Chinese background. Their first language is Chinese, so the language is deeply rooted in the mind. But English for them is definitely a second language. So when they started in Canadian high schools, they have these difficulties in writing and the speaking and doing presentations, things like that, especially understanding English novels and poetry. So I helped them to understand what logic is. So by and by, these students, especially their English literature grades, increased significantly. That's why this experience really motivated me to write this book. So in this book, I first of all teach people how to distinguish the Chinese culture and the English culture, the cultural differences, and how to make use our cultural roots. I really wanted my students to honor their Chinese blood, their Chinese roots, because it's really, really powerful. Our mind can understand things, can understand everything in present tense. I think that's hugely powerful. And for the English part, the logic is useful as well. I mean, every part of thinking is magnificent in my humble opinion. So I want my students, because part of my students, they think, I'm from Chinese culture, I'm not confident in the English culture because my English is not good. I experienced the same thing because I want to be a writer. Like I wrote poetry, but I never thought I can be a serious writer, like a professional writer, because English is my second language. I always think, English is your second language. How can you be an English writer? You're basically a native Chinese. That's weird. So that's a huge limiting belief. So I understand my students. They have the same feelings, have the same fear. That's why they don't want to speak up. They don't want to stand up to say that I want this or I think this. No. So I help them to build their confidence. One thing is that you have to understand English culture, the English language, the English literature. The other thing is you have to really, really honor your Chinese roots, your Chinese blood. But at the same time, I think for the New Age time, we have this power to connect, to unite all the cultures. I think basically all the cultures are the same because humanity chases the same beauty and the same truth, right?
Yeah, that is true. Let me ask you a question, Ken. I'm going to jump right in here with you for a moment. So, like you say, the challenges of you developing your own focus to pay attention to the logic and put your images together from your own culture and bind the two together. And this is what helps you to find your purpose as a writer, to say, okay, I encountered this, so let me help somebody else who's going through the same sort of thing. It's a challenge, but you said it's a treasure at the same time. Because you can combine all those elements together, it comes into a great synergy of just what you discovered in writing your book, which led you to write the book, The Empowered Chinese. So what do you think was the most fundamental thing in you asserting and knowing all of what you've gone through and all of what you've experienced to overcome your procrastination and fear? What were the things that you used to overcome?
My tools? Well, that's a really good question because I've come a long way. Procrastination was really, really killing me. I think sometimes when the calling for example, when your life purpose is so gigantic or is so weird, that's really intimidating. For example, my calling is really to become a writer. I didn't know how to write, but the calling is really strong. Like when I was in graduate school, I was studying global modernism and literary criticism. I was trained as a critic, as a professional critic, you know. So anything that is repressing my creativity is literally killing me. So at that time, when I was in graduate school, yes, my studies were really good. I was working really, really hard. But at the same time, there is a calling that, no, I don't want to be a critic. I want to be an artist. So the calling is very strong. I want to be creative. I want to be the writer who can lead all the critics rather than the critic who is there to analyze an artist. So that calling has been lasting for 4 or 5 years until I finally got up and say, no more. I need to write. I need to write no matter what. So I did something very harsh to myself. Like I cut out all my options. I told myself, no, you have no more choices. But
no more choices.
Sit down and write. So I
love that cat.
So because I think the only thing that for you to overcome a serious procrastination is to give you no choice. Yeah, give you no choice, no excuses. For example, you have a job, you can say, oh, I need to do the job. I don't have time to write my novels, you know. I can only write maybe half an hour per day. No, I said no more. You have no more choices. You have to do this right now. That's why I finished my first novel in 2 months and a half.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I like over maybe 10 hours per day. But I just keep on writing. I just forced myself to do it, and it's done. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, awesome. And in my
you're living proof that action cures fear. That's actually a quote. I'm not sure who coined that phrase or whatever, but you've heard that before too, right? Action cures fear. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
So you're living proof. You're living proof of that.
Yeah, thank you. And I also want to share something very important. I heard someone said that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That really helped me.
Yeah, that was Susan Jeffries. I know that one.
Oh, okay, okay.
I know that one. Yeah. So anyways, we're going to wrap up this session. There will be many more that we've got coming. And so, like I say, Kan is a learning and development coach. She works with youth and probably pretty much anybody. And she is a professional writer, an outstanding, amazing, phenomenal professional writer. So I'm going to have her leave her contact information, how you can get a hold of her if you have the need for those difficulties, pulling the two coaches together. Kan, please give out your contact details.
Oh, thank you. My email is empoweredchinese@gmail.com. And also, you can find my books on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. My name, Kan Zheng. Yes.
So, Kan, you have to spell your name because the Chinese spelling is not the way it sounds. So, Kan, spell your whole name, first and last name.
Kan, the first name is C-A-N, last name Zheng, Z-H-E-N-G.
Okay, Z-H-E-N-Z. That's how John is pronounced, Z-H-E-N-G. So there you have it, folks. Kan, I so adore you, and the work you're doing is just incredible. I say keep it up, and I can tell that you're following your passion, you're living your heart's desire. And just from our conversation before this call, you remember this morning, and I'm going to tell you again, I love you dearly. On that note.
Oh, I love you too, Val. Love you.
Okay. Thank you, darling. So bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
You have been listening to the Rich Flow of Life podcast with host Valerie Kanay. We're most appreciative you took the time to be with us, and thank you. For more action, go subscribe to Valerie Kanay Talks YouTube channel and like us on Facebook at Valerie Kanay Talks and follow us on Twitter at Valerie Kanay. Until next time, we love ya.